Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on Forgotten Weapons. I'm here today with Teri Bryant, who runs NambuWorld.com, which is an outstanding resource on Japanese pistols, and soon to be an outstanding resource on all things Japanese military, right?
Well, that's the plan. There's already a fair amount of stuff on things other than pistols there, but once I retire in a year or two, then it's going to blossom in a way that it has not had an opportunity to yet.
You can really have fun then.
Oh yes, well that's the whole point of the thing, is to have fun and to share that fun with other people.
Yeah.
Because I have people email me every day from all around the world saying, you know, I saw this, can you answer this question, and you know, like that. So
we get the same thing through the website. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You have several. Actually, I know the first time we linked over to your site was for one of the cool 3-barreled, really space-agey looking flare guns.
Yeah. Well, the thing about those flare guns is they're they don't just have anything with 3 barrels. It's going to just look so cool because it's really weird. But the other thing that's kind of neat about it is that the history of it, because the company that made those flare guns still exists. And there's a kind of interesting connection, because the flare guns, the top part recoils against a buffer spring in order to absorb the recoil. So if you hold the gun in your right hand and you push on the front, it moves back like 1/8 of an inch or so under pressure of this heavy spring. So it has kind of a built-in shock absorber. That company still exists. It's called KYB today, and guess what they make? Shock absorbers. For cars. Okay,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I love those kind of connections where you see things like that, and you know, you can bring it up to people that you know, there's just so many of these odd facts, you know, like I also like a lot of cartridges and ordnance and things like that. Okay. So here's a quiz for you. You're a big expert. You're a big expert, so we're going to put you on the spot. What do these calibers have in common? 30 Remington, 41 Long Colt, 9mm Steyr, 38 Special, and 40 Smith & Wesson. All of those calibers can be and have been used to make 8mm Nambu ammunition before you could just go out and buy it already made.
Okay.
And
that's
so
cool.
I have a number of rounds, and if you look on the head stamp, it says 41 Long Colt, and it's 8mm Nambu and things like that. But you know, basically they have roughly the same size base, and so that enables you with enough work. But I'm too lazy for that. You can buy them now.
You can now,
and so I just buy them. I figure, I mean, some people like to do that kind of thing. There's other things I like to do.
Yeah, you know? There's better uses of your time, I think.
Yeah, well, I like, you know, for me, like part of why I got involved with Japanese stuff is that I have a long-running interest in Japan, and I've been in Japan many times. I speak and read and write Japanese, and so for me, anything involving the writing, like old manuals and stuff like that, that's something that's really cool to me. And so I'd rather spend my time doing that than trying to file something off and neck it down and fire form it and all that. I'm glad there are people who like to do that kind of thing.
And you can pay them some money and they'll give you the ammo already to go.
Exactly. So
in fact, it's kind of cool. We have a couple of Japanese machine gun manuals, and it turns out you're the one who originally sourced them.
Yes. Well, I've got.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. I try to, for all my guns, I try to get a manual, the original manual, which is very hard, because what people don't realize is that many of the accessories to the guns are much rarer than the guns, because there were never, first of all, not many people brought them back. You know, it's cool to bring a pistol back. Who thinks to bring the manual for it, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so the thing is that for many of these things, like say rifle cleaning kits or manuals, they didn't issue one with every gun. You know, like the cleaning kits, the squad leader got a cleaning kit. So there was one for only every so many guns. But now everybody says, oh, I've got the gun, I wanted a cleaning kit. Well, but good luck, okay? Same with the manuals. The manuals were for the people who were training people. They weren't so much for the ordinary soldier, but if you were like the NCO who was training the new recruits and here's how to use this machine gun, then you needed to know everything, and so that's why they have all the little cutaway diagrams showing exactly the operation and everything, and you'd use those as instructional aids, but they didn't issue one with every gun.
Okay, I had no idea.
Yeah, so
learning all sorts of stuff all the time.
Here, in the U.S., people don't realize sometimes how lucky they are. Right. You know, you guys have a lot of this stuff, and other things too. You know, you have the relatively permissive laws, but in the U.S., you can really specialize.
Right.
Like, you know, if you want to collect Type 94 pistols, you can specialize in Type 94 pistols. I know people who have 500 Type 94 pistols.
There are people who do that.
Well, there are not 500 Japanese handguns of all kinds in Canada. You put them all together and there's less than 300.
Wow.
So there's no way you can build in depth. So that's why I've kind of tried to build a kind of representative collection of
To be honest, I think broad and not shallow, but broad collections are more interesting than very, very specific ones.
Well,
because you get to compare a lot of dissimilar things and watch trends through history.
Well, to my mind, each of these types of collecting has a strength that it can contribute. So, for example, somebody who specializes in just Type 99 rifles or just Type 94 pistols, they get a tremendous depth of knowledge that enables you to tell, for example, is this gun right? Because they know that at this serial number, this type of screw changed to that type of screw.
Right.
And so you can look at it and they can tell you if it's this serial number, it should have this type of screw. Well, my type of collecting would never get that kind of knowledge.
Right.
Okay, the type of collecting I do, you can see across different types of things, the similarities of different types of Japanese stuff, and you can also you know, it's very educational, I think, to the average person to see a broad variety of stuff. You know, the problem that some people have is you go to, you know, if you see somebody's collection, it could be even not Japanese, but Lugers or something. And so if you have a table and it has like 200 Lugers, well, the average person, they go up and they go, oh, like, they all look the same,
over,
you know,
yes.
like, well, that one has a longer barrel, but other than that, they all look the same, right? But my collection, you can see it's all kind of different stuff.
Right.
And then the people who collect, say, you know, one Japanese, one German, one Italian, then you get the cross-national perspective of comparing different types of actions and things like that. So each of those contributes something to our knowledge.
Pretty much all the guns are cool.
And they're all cool. They're all cool in their own way. And you know, we all want to know more about them, right? I mean, everybody.
Oh, absolutely. That's what we're here for.
You know, I mean, that's why people come to your site is they want to say, oh, I've heard about such a thing. I want to actually see how does it work and everything. Well, we all want more knowledge, and each of those things contributes to the pool of knowledge that we have available.
So, and just like you say, that's why we have sites like yours that we like to link to, because it's that cool subset that I have no hope of covering because my knowledge is more generalized.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool. We can turn to someone like you for a more specific set of data.
And if you ask me something that's even more specific than that, I got somebody I can turn to too.
There you go.
One of those people who has 500 of the same gun. You know.
What do you think is the coolest gun you have? Your favorite of your whole collection?
Geez, it's really hard to say what's the coolest thing, but I do have a couple of things that are unique or close to it.
Okay.
Which is quite hard. Well, it's kind of an accomplishment in Canada, considering that most of the stuff is here in the U.S.
Right.
But one thing I have that is quite neat is I have some deactivated Japanese machine guns, and I have one Japanese machine gun that legally doesn't have to be deactivated. Okay. And that is because it's a blank firing trainer. Nice. So it was sent to the crime lab, and the people, the powers that be, the police looked at it and said, this does not have to be registered because it's blank firing only. Okay. And so what's neat about it is because it's blank firing, as I mentioned, it's blank firing because it's a trainer. Right. And if people have looked at Japanese training machine guns, there's quite a variety of them. It could be, you could build a really interesting collection just of Japanese training machine guns.
If you could find them, yes.
If you could find them, but hey, you know, it gives you a challenge. We all like a challenge, right? Does. And so, if you look at them, most of them look kind of like tubes.
Right.
Basically, they're very tubular, and some of them have the mag up top, some at the right, left, or whatever, but they basically look like tubes. But this one actually looks like a Type 96 light machine gun.
You know, that passes the 20-foot test, I think.
Yeah, and you can tell that it was built as a trainer. One of the key things about trainers is they're usually put together with screws and stuff. Like, nobody would put together a live machine gun with screws because it would rattle itself apart.
Right,
but for a blank firing trainer, it's okay. Yeah. So it's made out of sheet metal, you know, that has been formed and then screwed together. And it's like, now the thing is, even if I were to try and fire this, it actually has been very mildly deactivated in that they've ground off the firing pin, but otherwise it's it's okay. But the thing is, even if it had a firing pin, I don't have a magazine for it. And a regular magazine, even if I had a Type 96 magazine, it won't fit. Type 99 magazine won't fit. And since it's unique, nobody has ever seen one before. Nobody can even tell me what a magazine should look like.
Actually, that would make sense. That's a good safety precaution, so that no one can accidentally load a live magazine of ammo in it and blow themselves up.
So what I have done actually is I discovered that a Bren gun magazine will sit in that hole.
Okay.
It doesn't actually click in properly and everything, but you can sit it there and it will stay. So if I want it to look nice, I can put a Bren gun magazine in it, but it won't feed anything. So that's one thing that's really cool.
Nice. That is cool. That's very unusual.
The other thing is something that's kind of subtle, and that is, I have a bunch of flare guns, and Japanese flare guns are really cool just because, well, like they've got this, recoil thing and going and stuff. But the Army and Navy use different ones. The Army mostly used one type of flare gun that was a single barrel called a Type 10. It uses an enormous 35 millimeter flare. It's huge, and I've got a picture that I'll show you that is, so the flares, you can see this is a 12 gauge shotgun shell.
Okay. This
is the 28 millimeter flare that's used by the Navy. Okay. This is the 35 millimeter flare that's used by the Army. It's pretty humongous, okay? And they're really rare. So this flare gun shoots that kind of flare. Okay. And it's double action. The action and the grip is actually very similar to the Type 26 revolver. Okay. The interior parts of it. But what makes this one particularly rare is they only made about 250 that had a safety. So this is a double action gun with this huge, powerful trigger pull, and it has a safety on it. And so obviously they decided it wasn't useful.
Yeah, you didn't need it.
So they dropped it and made the rest of them without. But this is one of the rare ones. It's the number that is known grows as more come out of the woodwork, but it's probably in the single digits. Okay. This one I think was about the 5th one that was found. And so, when you find something like that, and this actually I got from my website, because I had mentioned that there were these ones that had a safety, and somebody said, hey, guess what? I got one. How would you like it? And I said, sure. So, and unfortunately I don't have unlimited funds, so I can't buy everything people offer me. Right. I'm sure you'd like to have that.
Yeah, I'd love to have unlimited funds. If anyone has unlimited funds, we can share.
Well, the thing is, I might actually have unlimited funds, because the Canadian lottery was last night. Okay, it was 50 million bucks. So I haven't checked my tickets yet. I might have unlimited funds, but at this time certainly I didn't. And so anyway, that's kind of cool having a kind of unique piece like that. And the other thing, I really like having rare accessories to the guns, like I said, manuals and so on. So the naval flare guns, the double and triple barreled flare guns, they didn't have a regular manual issued with them. They had a little aluminum card, because aluminum won't get wet and soggy if you're in the Navy. So one of the risks of all naval equipment is getting wet, obviously. Since Navy's didn't, so they have these little cards, and I have one for one of my flare guns here. You can see this I got the double-barreled flare gun, this one here, with the holster and with this rare little instruction plate about the size of a playing card. Okay. And so those kind of things, it's the icing on the cake. When you got something that's rare to start with, and then you got the accessory, and then you meet your friend, and most people they don't know. Oh, well, you got that, but the people who know, you say, oh, I got that double. Oh, that was a really nice find, and I got the card. Oh.
I think you definitely are kind of people.
So that's some of the things that I think are particularly unique. Other things that people really like is, so for example, in all of Canada, there's only 4 baby Nambus, and no more can come in because their barrel is too short, so they're a danger to the public.
Yeah. I'm sure there's lots of holdups with those.
Oh yes, especially with that $25 a round ammunition. So anyway, there's 4 of them in Canada. I got 2.
Nice.
And so,
that's cool.
one for each hand.
There you go.
I've got a lot of period pictures too, and I really like finding period photographs of people with these guns, because well, part of it is, besides it's just cool to see it, but again, you can learn, what can you learn from it? And there are some things, like people say, well, what is this for, or what's that for? Well, or why did they have this feature? Well, you can read in manuals what is supposed to be done with the thing. But to see
Right.
how it was actually used, you need photos, and the photos will tell you what they were actually using these things for, how they were actually used, and sometimes we find out interesting things like that.
Yeah, I'm
you know,
sure.
so for example, there's little ammunition pouches that were often associated with the Type 14 pistol because the Type 14 ammunition, 8mm Nambu, comes in a little 15-round box. 15-round box just drops right into that thing, so everybody kind of thought it was associated with that gun. But then a friend of mine, I can't claim credit for this discovery, he said, I think they're actually for a Type 26 because I've seen a picture of somebody with, with a Type 26 revolver and these pouches, and which kind of makes sense actually because the Type 14 holster already has room for 2 boxes of ammunition inside it plus a spare mag. So I went and looked, and I have a whole bunch of pictures of people with Type 26 revolvers, and sure enough they've got these pouches, so clearly they predated the it's those bits of knowledge that are interesting to people who are like me, are obsessed with absurd little details about things. And so we can learn all those absurd details by detailed. I actually have a photo, I got this great photo. It's there's tons of group photos. Group photos are a dime a dozen of Japanese soldiers, like they would have, if you get 30 Japanese soldiers together, they had to have a group photo taken. But I have one that's really, really cool because the front row guys have taken off their equipment and laid it out in front of them. And so they got like their backpacks there. And one of them has put a 5-round stripper clip of ammo on top, and if you look carefully you can see that it's actually 5 dummy rounds because the dummy rounds have little cannelures, grooves in the bullet, and this photo is such high quality that you can actually see those grooves in there. And so cool. Having a picture that shows a 5-round stripper clip of dummy rounds that was taken 80 years ago, how cool is that?
So you have pretty much all your pistols on your website at this point, or a lot of them?
Almost all of them are on my website. I've had some outside issues that have interfered with me working on the site for a while, including computer crashes and various other, family issues and so on. But I've finally resolved my technical issues so that I can start work on it again. And I've got some flare guns to post. I've got tons of rifles to post, and lots of ammunition and field gear and stuff like that. So, and I just bought some more stuff here. I bought a really cool comfort bag. It's like sending care packages to Japanese soldiers. They call them comfort bags. Nice. So I got a really cool one of those. And especially once I retire, well, you're going to kind of see things go like this, hopefully, and turn it into a real virtual museum.
Fantastic. We really look forward to seeing that. So,
well,
thank you.
Thank you very well.
And the site is nambuworld.com.
www.nambuworld.com.
Fantastic. We'll go take a look.
Okay.
Thanks for watching, guys. Tune in again to ForgottenWeapons.com for information on Japanese firearms and militaria.